like even with Tisha, what people don't realize that reverse colorism happens as well.
Oh yeah.
Reverse colorism? Girl, I don't think that she can actualize the reality of how she was treated, because I think that it would make her world come crashing down.
Sometimes it don't make no sense. Does it really have to? There is nothing I can say.
Hi, welcome to Mayowa's World. Hi y'all, welcome to Mayowa's World. My name is Mayowa, and on my platform I talk about colorism, featureism, texturism. So this is my first video back in 2026. Yo, I'm almost at 100,000 subscribers. I am so excited. I'm really excited to make content this year. I got a new camera and a new lens, and if y'all have been watching my videos for a while, you know I've been having issues with my old camera because I had that camera since 2017. So it was just starting to, do you know what I mean? The age was showing. She was getting ready to pack up. So I got a new camera. It's like so exciting. I've been making more videos on my Patreon. I've been like, I'm trying to explore on with streaming because that makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm just trying to get better at like doing one take shots. And so yeah, I've been talking more about my personal life on my Patreon. So if you enjoy my videos and you want to understand me a little bit more or just kind of see what I'm up to, join my Patreon. So today we're going to be talking about colorism and Tichina Arnold's response to Martin being called a colorist TV series. And actually, in fact, she thinks that reverse colorism happened to her co-star, Tichina Campbell, and I'll show a picture. I want to have a generational conversation around colorism because I think that that is also a factor. I feel like the fact that Tichina Arnold is in a different age demographic often is something that I've experienced firsthand of how they navigate colorism, which is often by denial and just kind of telling you that you just need to be more confident, and how a lot of younger generations are definitely tapping in more to understanding colorism and being really cognizant of the effects that it has. And I think that also plays into why the TV show Martin was able to go as far as it was. I feel like there was a hyper suppression of dark-skinned people being able to express their voices and their discomfort with colorism. Martin is a TV show that came out in the 90s. I was a kid when the TV show came out, and in the TV show, essentially the dynamic is Martin is the main character. He's the funny guy, and his girlfriend is Gina. Gina is a light-skinned woman, but she's seen as like the classy one, and she's sensitive. And then there's Pam, who is the best friend to Gina. She's a dark-skinned woman played by Tichina Arnold. She's seen as more aggressive. She's somebody who is seen as the comedic relief. They often make fun of her. They've likened her to being a dog. They likened her to being a man. They likened her to being aggressive. Yeah, so just explain the dynamic of the TV show Martin. I'll put in some clips as well so y'all can kind of see what the TV show was giving when it comes to the colorism that Pam experienced.
Well, Pam, I got a problem with your breath smelling like train smoke. Girl, your hair's so nappy, Wilson couldn't pick it. Just me, you, Tommy, and Mama Duke.
And he's so nice to that Pam. Martin told me on the way over that she was raised by wolves.
Well, I hope they do weaves in the joint, because that's where you go. A weave for dirt cheap.
Does anybody know the quickest way there?
Yeah, on Pam's back. But we all can't fit. Is that your breath? Smelling like boiled bologna. Anything else we do to help? Like if he needs an organ, like a cow heart or something, we got the whole cow right here. Okay? Everybody's not like Tommy. I don't have a pit bull to protect me. That's
it.
Where I'ma live? I knew it. This is all your fault, Pam. They don't want me having pets up in my place. Get the leash. You got the goat.
Ari Lennox watched back Martin and was like, this show is really colorist.
There are some things where I draw the line and it just bothered me. Or like, I don't know, it's like Pam was so fucking beautiful and so fine. And I just feel like growing up as a chocolate girl, like, I don't even know if I was able to understand the greatness of Pam because of the light that I feel like I was being fed.
And she got attacked so severely online by, I don't know, people who somehow are in denial that Martin was a colorist TV show. And they're saying like, oh no, it wasn't. And like, Pam was hot. So like, because Tichina Arnold / Pam was hot, you know, people are feeling like that's not that bad, what happened. Because we're in a conservative time, there is going to be more efforts to erase the work that dark-skinned people have done to advocate against colorism. So I think people are trying to act more obtuse, act like they don't know, to kind of say like we should bring back colorism. We should bring back being able to make fun of dark-skinned people in the way that it happened in the 90s. And as someone who grew up in the 90s, I was a kid in the 90s, I remember it being a very difficult time. I was a crybaby as a kid, and I'm still a crybaby now as an adult, but I feel like what it really was is I was sensitive and I was very aware of how dark-skinned people was being treated. I was very aware of how Gina was seen as the prize and Pam was seen as the annoyance, and how it created this like triangle between the three, and how even in the TV series, Gina was not a good friend to Pam because she would laugh along with her boyfriend making fun of Pam. And how that same dynamic, I've been in dynamics with light-skinned women who their partners are making fun of dark-skinned women, and the light-skinned women were laughing along. I feel like these things create it as a normalcy because I think colorism is seen as a normal form of oppression to continue. I think people are pushing back against it more, but I still think to some degree, we have been very much so normalized to it. I'm gonna play the clip of Tichina Arnold talking about how she feels about the TV show Martin, and we can watch it together.
This is a little backstory. Pam was originally for a heavyset girl. So all the jokes on my audition were fat jokes. So I'm literally auditioning saying like with fat jokes, right? They ended up changing it when I got the role, obviously, because that's when my body was banging. I was thin. I was like, yeah, what y'all doing with these jokes? Because
I feel like people think that if you're beautiful, you can transcend it. Like if you're just so pretty, if your body's banging, as she obviously feels confident to talk about her body. And of course, she's a gorgeous girl. I'm not saying that she didn't. But you know how I made a tweet and like a video talking about how people only like dark-skinned women when their body is tea? This is a perfect example. She was like, I think she feels like because her body was banging, because she knew she was attractive, all those jokes are fine because she's a hot dark-skinned girl. But she still was being dehumanized. I really feel like the way that anti-fatness is just like a normalized form of oppression, it's truly sick. Like people think it's so normal to just like make fat jokes. And obviously like, what would that TV show have been like if that was a fat dark-skinned woman who is like experiencing double marginalization, right? Or triple because she's also black. But do you know what I mean? Like that doesn't make it better.
Yeah. And they just started incorporating. So it never, ever, ever came from a brown skin thing.
Yeah.
It started when I really had BDBs in the back of my head. I never knew I had pepper balls. We call them pepper balls. I didn't know I had pepper balls in the back of my head. Cause like, you know, you do your hair, and that's when I stopped perming my hair. My mom called it pepper ball.
And then she was talking about how, oh yeah, you know, she had some BDBs in the back, blah, 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 blah. Her hair has always been someone who is straight into the gods. Like, I feel like within texturism and like perms and stuff, she's somebody who would be considered to have a nice perm or her hair straightens well. And I actually feel like her hair texture is a looser hair texture than Gina's. So it's interesting that Tichina's one was seen as like, oh yeah, she had BDBs in the back. Let me see Gina's one too. Like, let me see what hers was giving, because I don't feel like never saw those. And then I saw another clip, like there's actually another clip of her talking about who really experienced colorism was Gina. And so yeah, let's watch that.
Like even with Tisha, what people don't realize that reverse colorism happens as well.
Oh yeah.
Reverse colorism, girl.
I remember Tisha, she would cry sometimes. It would be so bad because we had a live studio audience, and the girls, the black girls would come in, and they were there for Martin. You know, and that was Martin, like this Def Comedy Jam and stuff. So it was that kind of crowd that would come to our shows, and they would laugh so hard, they would bang on the floor like you would hear. It was just crazy from the laughter of the audience. And every time, the whole first season, every time Tisha would walk out, all you hear was, they would not laugh at her jokes.
Wow.
They treated her horribly.
That's crazy.
And I was treated fine because, you would think they would be me because I'm going back and forth with him. But no, they did not want Martin having a girlfriend.
She was talking about how whenever Gina would come out, people would be like annoyed. And like, they could be annoyed for multiple reasons. Like, they could be annoyed simply because they feel like Martin is attractive and he is the prize and they don't want him to have any girlfriend at all. It doesn't matter if she was light skinned or dark skinned, they just didn't want him to have a girlfriend. But also, what she was experiencing is misogyny. It's not reverse colorism. Like, reverse colorism isn't real. And I really feel like trying to find ways to justify that just shows that you haven't really actualized yourself as a dark skinned person. You haven't really allowed yourself to have the space to see your own experiences as valid and as worthy of needing care. And also what I think is interesting is like, I feel like I've seen clips of like Tichina Arnold really defending Tisha Campbell with her experiences. I have not seen a clip of Tisha Campbell talking about the colorism that Tichina Arnold went through. Like, between their dynamic is like, I've heard so many stories of how Tichina Arnold was helping out Tisha Campbell with jobs. Like, I heard with, and how a lot of times whenever roles that Tichina Arnold would be in, she would put on Tisha Campbell for those roles. And how it just feels like a lot of times dark-skinned people, they're like, the reason that people enjoy having them around is because we are seen as the people who are supposed to make you feel comfortable, the people who are supposed to just give, and have so much space and empathy and care for light-skinned people, even at their own detriment. I don't think that she can actualize the reality of how she was treated, because I think that it would make her world come crashing down. And I feel like for that, because of all the things that came for her from that role, she cannot allow herself to really see how her character was dehumanized. And that's why I really like Maxine from Living Single, because I saw her make a video where she was like, looking back on what I was doing, like the way that we were treated, that was not okay. She was aware, she was cognizant, she's actualized.
Being that you were on Living Single, which it was one of the fundamental sitcoms of the 90s, I almost said black again. And you guys played with each other and joked with each other about who had a job, about who looked like this, about what it, and your character in particular had an interplay, and you guys would go back and forth. You were in one of those kind of relationships, almost like Martin and Pam were.
Yeah.
What do you think about the criticism that Ari had about how we used to joke, and is there any validity to it?
It's valid, absolutely. It's valid. I understand that there was also a different, I have to contextualize it, that the character Max and Kyle were both dark skinned with, there's a difference there. And also Max gave as good as she gave. And so did.
And they also ended up in a relationship.
So did Pam.
Yeah.
That's right. They were in love and hate with each other. There's that. But that doesn't mean that doing this rewatch podcast, I didn't see some things as a little different. And we talk a lot about colorization, and we all suffered from it. I think that what we're rediscovering by even reclaiming our opinion about these things is no one ever asked us back in the day anything. You come in, you're hired, you do your gig, and you keep moving. And for the most part, so many things can be so normalized that you don't feel it. But then you need distance in order to have, hindsight. And so it gives us insight. You're right, Van. There's no doubt about it. I knew then there were things I didn't like about that. Looking at the Martin show, I didn't see it within our show, but then looking at our show, I did see a few things. I was like, And I took it on the chin, like the chick I am, because that's what she does. But Erica Alexander was like, I don't like that.
And this is what I mean by the generational difference. And I'm going to touch on that. They feel like if you think about colorism, you're not going to be confident. Like, you need to act like you don't experience it, because then that's when you're going to be like on top and you're not gonna be aware. But it's like, when you understand colorism and you understand dynamics, you can work from an even higher place because you know why people are doing what they're doing. You're able to see through why people are doing what they're doing. You know when someone is trying to get a rile out of you. You're not in a space of trying to chase light skin validation and chase acceptance. You're able to sit in yourself and just be like, yeah, like, this is me. And then you attract a lot more, like you attract a lot more opportunities when you're aware of how the system is actually set up versus acting like the system doesn't exist. And so, you know, I want to talk now about the generational thing, because I feel like a lot of negative experiences I have had around colorism have been through people who are of an older generation. Obviously, people my age definitely perpetrate colorism, but I think that there's more accountability for younger people these days than older people. I have had older women tell me to shut up at workshops. I have had older women about colorism. I've had older women try to fight people in workshops about colorism. I have had older women try to, like, literally, if a dark-skinned person is sharing their experiences of colorism, they will shut them down to talk about their childhood. Like, and you know what it makes me realize? That older, because we talk about how like a lot of older light-skinned women, I feel like their tactics of being able to shut down conversations around colorism is sharp. They know how to get you to shut up immediately and how to take up more space because they've been given the space to do that. There's so many TV shows that allow them the space to keep expanding and, you know, saying that they are the real victims of colorism. They are the ones who need the, you know, all of that. And then it makes me have even deeper empathy for older dark-skinned women and how a lot of older dark-skinned women were never allowed the space to process what has happened. They probably were never allowed the space to talk about it, because I do think that an older generation's relationship to colorism is often through telling you to not talk about it, to not think about it, and to just keep being strong and to just keep supporting. Or they try to immediately say we're all Black at the end of the day, which isn't actually addressing the problems. So there's not really the space to have those conversations, to have the nuances, to have like the discourse, because that's just how they feel about it. And for me, one of my like greatest experiences in terms of learning about colorism was when I met Grace Jones. I met Grace Jones when I was like 21 in a nightclub in London, and her and I ended up having like an hour-long conversation about colorism, because I asked her about colorism in the club. Like, we're in the club, we're partying, and I was like, Grace, how do you feel? I don't even remember how I phrased it, but I was asking her about her experiences like with colorism and where she's at. And at the time she was writing a book, and she told me in the club, she's like, I'm actually writing a book and I'm thinking about this. So like, I would love to talk about this more into detail. So hold on, there's an ambulance nearby. One of the like things that she, like the advice that she gave me at the time was like, she was like, as a dark-skinned person, you gotta push through. Like you should never let them know when you feel insecure. You should never let them know when you feel uncertain in yourself. You need to have this kind of strength and power and push through and like always keep your head up high. You know, it was very much like giving that. And that was actually helpful for me, because that was one of the few times I've heard an older dark-skinned woman talk about colorism before, like, and just kind of like give advice. And then another conversation that I thought was really interesting with Grace Jones was how she was talking about her makeup, right? And how back in the day, you know how if you see images of Grace Jones, she has a very bright under eye. The reason that she had a very bright under eye was because they were not selling makeup foundation in her shade. So she would use this bright under eye to create this like fantastic contour. And she said that she used to use lipstick as blush, and like, she's just such a creative person. So she was just kind of making her face, you know, kind of creating this image of herself that's like otherworldly, because a lot of things were not accessible to her. And like Grace, obviously when people look at Grace Jones, I think literally everybody knows that Grace Jones is a very strong woman. Like, and I really appreciate her because she had so much care around the conversations of colorism. She had so much understanding. She like listened to me, you know, and her advice was the advice that's the best that she can give me because of how she grew up, you know. And I just think that that generation's like response to colorism is like, don't let them see you cry. Don't let them know how much they hurt you. Don't talk about it. You know, you need to just do something about it. And I'm also somebody who, I've been in therapy, right? So I have the deeper understanding to know that when you don't talk about something, it doesn't go away, right? Like it still lives inside your body. Maybe you've like mentally processed it as something else, but I do feel the way I navigate this world, I like to talk about everything. As y'all can see, I'm a yapper. I got this channel. I love to talk about things. It makes me feel better. I feel stronger when I talk about things. And I think that honestly, that's probably the best in a lot of intersections. Like if you're someone who's affected by racism, talking about it and understanding why it is that way and understanding how it works, I feel like that can be a superpower. So I understand why she moved the way she did, because I don't really know how many people she felt like she could talk to about that and confide in. But I do also feel like, you know, Grace Jones was not like no Tichina Arnold talking about some, you need to ask, you know, I don't know who you hang out with, who made you feel like that. But for me, like the exceptional dark skin, she wasn't like that. She was very much so like, these things are real. These feelings are very real, but you don't tell nobody how it makes you feel because you can't let them see you as weak. Me, like I said, I'm a crybaby. I don't mind being seen as weak because I don't think that you knowing how these things affect me actually makes me weak. I actually feel stronger. And it's kind of like the same thing with like, you know how if you're somebody who has a lot of secrets and someone throws it in your face, it feels more painful. But if you have a lot of secrets and then you throw it in your own face and you constantly let people know what your tea is, your business is, like it actually feels less bad when people try to make fun of you for it. People make fun of me for my insecurities. I've already said it. So it doesn't make me feel bad. I actually think that's to me, but you know, generational differences. So yeah, like I would like to know what y'all think about the TV show Martin and her response. And yes, and if you made it to the end, let's get into the look. I got this outfit. This is actually like a one piece, and I got it at a store here in Atlanta called Akira. I love Akira. Someone said that Akira is Atlanta if it was a store, like talking about it being kind of like, I don't know, a bit hood classy. I love Akira, and they sell things for tall people. So if you're tall, it's a great store. But anyways, like it reminds me of a cloud, super cute. So yes, and then my makeup, my hair is falling down. I'm trying to put my hair up more, y'all. I'm trying to do little updos, but yeah, I gotta find a better way of tying it. But yeah, so if you made it to the end, tell me what you like of my outfit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.